Let's talk about what the Founding Fathers argued, and I want to just plug your book, The Founder's Key. I was actually just rereading it the other night in anticipation of this, and what I love about the book and the speeches you give about the book, the lectures, is that you're refuting a common talking point that is prevailing over academia, which is there were kind of two founding events, and one was kind of more liberal in nature and one was more conservative, and they're just separate. And the Declaration, it was just founding fathers saying that they don't want to be part of Britain anymore, but the Constitution fixed a lot of that, and they were kind of these separate deals. You make the argument that they're actually tied together, that they make claims about the universality of humanity. Can you talk about that? I find it to be so interesting.
Yeah, there's a liberal scholarship, 80 years old now, and it says that the Constitution is a reaction against the radicalism of the Declaration of Independence. And the Constitution is a different kind of thing from the Declaration. It has to be too, because in our lives, in your life, in my life, we have purposes we want to accomplish. That's one thing. And we have ways of going about it. And we try to adapt the ways to the purposes. But the ways are different from the purposes. You're a burgeoning young conservative scholar and personality and influencer. But your show is cameras and microphones. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so for there to be a founding and it to be coherent, all of that has to be covered. And it actually gets covered in both documents, in the Declaration and the Constitution, although the weight is different between the two. In the Declaration of Independence, there are three parts. The first part is very beautiful and also emphatically universal. And the middle part is 30 paragraphs, 29 paragraphs of details. But if you just read those details backwards, if you just say all the stuff the king has done that justify the revolution, then you would need a constitution that forbids those things. And the Constitution does forbid those things. They group into the main features of the Constitution, which are representation, separation of powers, and limited government. And those three things give the Constitution its structure. And it's a very coherent document. But the point is, absent such a Constitution, you would be justified in rebelling. And that's what the Declaration says. And, the first part, like the best celebration you could make for the Declaration of Independence is to study it for an hour, because it's an extremely interesting document. It begins purely universally when in the course of human events, right? That means any time it becomes necessary for one people, that means any people, to dissolve the political bands that have connected them with the other, and to assume among the powers of the earth a separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. Those laws are, if they exist at all, they are simply eternal and universal. And it's the name of those that the document begins. And then the next paragraph is about some self-evident truths that establish our right, any people's right, remember, not just ours, any people's right to choose the government, consent to it, and get rid of it if it goes bad. And that's nothing to do in particular with the American people, any people, they say. And then this middle part where they talk about the bad stuff the king has done, which condemnations supply the main structure of the later Constitution. And then at the end, it's just gorgeous. It's and so you have to picture the situation. Understanding history means being able to do that. And this is 2 million people along the eastern seaboard. They didn't have an army to speak of, right? They found out they were all the army in a way, but it wasn't organized. There was nobody in America who had ever moved a large body of troops from one place to another.